Hello, a very warm welcome to Middle East Matters. In this special edition, we're coming to you from La Villette, here in the French capital, which for the next 6 months is going to be home to artifacts belonging to the tomb of ancient Egyptian pharaoh Tutankhamun. Let's take a look inside. Now, these treasures are touring the globe and making a pit stop here in Paris nearly 100 years after the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb in Egypt. That was back in November 1922. And visitors will be able to learn about how scientific analysis of the boy king's mummy, born over 3,300 years ago, has revealed new information about both his health and lineage. Earlier, I spoke to Egyptologist Dominique Farou about why this is such a must-see exhibition.
Well,
it is a big deal because an exhibition like this attracts a lot of people. And it will allow us to promote Egyptology and to show not just the importance of our research, but also that there is a point to it.
So you mentioned that it's drawing a lot of interest and we're seeing many spectators around us. Why is it that exhibitions like this are still drawing so much attention?
There's the historic element. It showcases knowledge in 2019 compared to what was known in 1967 at the first Tutankhamun exhibition. It's also very touching. Sometimes it brings tears to my eyes to see certain objects. And from observing the visitors, it's not just me.
Parmi les spectateurs, les visiteurs, je suis pas tout seul.
This is the very last time that these objects are being displayed outside Egypt before they go into their new home right next to the Giza pyramids. Now, the Grand Egyptian Museum has been a very long time in the making and it's faced a plethora of delays since the revolution back in 2011. But it's now due to open next year.
A colossus of marble, concrete and steel, with the legendary pyramids of Giza as a backdrop. The Grand Egyptian Museum lies on the outskirts of Cairo, straddling city and desert. For the moment, it's still a vast construction site, with some 5,000 workers there every day to get the job done.
These 3 pyramids will be covered in marble, and this entire wall will be marble as well.
The grand opening is set for 2 years from now, when visitors will be greeted by this giant figure of Ramesses II. A staircase 12 stories high, lined with 96 statues, will lead to the museum's crowning glory, the full collection of treasures from Tutankhamun's tomb, together for the first time.
They'll be presented in glass cabinets across 2 enormous rooms here. It's our biggest project. Nothing like this has ever been built in Egypt since the time of the pharaohs.
Once it's time to cut the ribbon, over 100,000 artifacts will be on display. Priceless artworks arrive daily. These cases hold small masterpieces, from ancient statuettes to this funeral urn, of particular interest to the museum's director. It's 4,000 years old and needs brightening up.
When it has been cleaned, it will be a marvelous piece and we will tell the story behind it. People will really understand what the ancient Egyptians were thinking about.
Next stop, the restoration lab, where experts resurrect the original colors of objects like this lion head bed and this chariot which belonged to Tutankhamun.
I feel a lot of pride, but also a huge sense of responsibility working on these. To get the best result, you have to be careful, making no sudden movements and avoiding at all costs, even the smallest scratch.
The largest pieces are examined at the end of this hangar. Another statue of Ramesses II, weighing more than 1,500 kilograms, has been carefully strapped up for transportation. The restorers then apply a respectful makeover.
With a soft brush, I lightly remove the dust so as not to alter the color. This sarcophagus is like a patient that needs treating. I take it step by step until it heals. Its future is in my hands, and my job is to keep it in good health.
38,000 objects have already been restored, while around 5,000 are being relocated from the Egyptian Museum on Tahrir Square. This includes the Mask of Tutankhamun, a masterpiece of over 10 kilograms of solid gold. Where exactly it'll be displayed is for the moment a secret. The building's supposed to be impossible to burgle, earthquake-proof, and even resistant to being bombed. But above all, it's designed to shelter the eternal slumber of the pharaohs.
To delve a little deeper into the Giza Museum and, of course, some of these splendid artifacts here, I'm now joined by Chloe Ragazzoli. She's an associate professor of Egyptology at the University of Sorbonne. Chloe, thank you so much for being with us. We've heard from many observers that a great deal hinges on this museum being a success. We're talking about Egypt's image both in and out of the country. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's a bit difficult for an Egyptologist to comment on that, but it's true that Egypt wants to offer to the world an attractive image, maybe to start a new era.
You're speaking about this attractive image, of course. Egypt is also pinning a great deal of hope on this museum, bringing in a lot of economic revenue through the tourism element. Do you think that's a realistic expectation to have for Egyptian authorities?
I think it is, definitely, because tourism is one of the economic resources of Egypt, along with agriculture, minerals, and it took a big hit after the revolution and the recent terrorist attacks. So there is probably a lot of potential there.
There's also the challenge of looting, something that's become, some would say, rather immensely problematic in Egypt since the 2011 revolution. Can you tell us what impact that's had on the antiquities world in the country?
Well, it is a huge problem because when a piece is looted, you don't know anymore where it comes from, you don't know its meaning, and it's an incentive to destroy more monuments and more sites. So it's something that needs to be monitored. But for example, it was a huge issue for Howard Carter. We needed an army and armed soldiers along with him to help protect the tomb.
Lastly, it does appear as though we're unlocking more and more mysteries about Egypt, certainly over the recent years. Do you think that's more due to the fact that there have been technological advances, or is it because us journalists are providing more coverage?
I think there is a better understanding of academic and universities of social media and media coverage, and this is really monitored each time there is a new discovery. The way it is announced to the press is usually planned in a very careful manner. What's true is that we use all sorts of technologies which are not related to history to better understand and identify the sites.
Chloe Ragazzoli of the Sorbonne University, thank you so much for being with us. Now to the French Institute for Oriental Archaeology in Cairo, which is one of France's most prominent research centers across the waters, and one of its main missions is to study the successive civilizations of Egypt from prehistory to the modern era. Here's a report from our correspondents on the ground.
Almost 140 years since its founding, the French Institute for Oriental Archaeology, or IFAO, is one of the top archaeological institutions in Egypt. For its director, IFAO is unique.
We handle everything from research to fieldwork, excavation at archaeological dig sites, as well as studying data collected by researchers in the field, right up to the publication stage, to independently produce these publications and distribute them.
IFAO has keenly invested in cutting-edge technology. In this laboratory, researchers try to find the precise age of archaeological discoveries, such as this rope found at a dig site in Luxor.
Be careful when you put the acid on. It needs to be done gently. This type of sample is particularly interesting because what we will date is the actual material of the rope. These are fibers that don't normally last long, so it's really the kind of sample we're looking for in order to fine-tune the dating. Let's get started with the combustion.
Now to the chemistry lab. It will take several weeks to know the exact age of this rope through carbon dating. Egypt forbids researchers to take samples out of the country, so anyone looking to learn the age of an Egyptian antiquity has no choice but to visit the IFAO laboratory, making it the only place of its kind in the world. The IFAO also takes pride in training Egyptians.
The entire team is Egyptian, trained in the full range of techniques we use here, including chemistry, physics and conservation. It's an interesting knowledge transfer because they've learnt to work with French laboratories, which generates exchanges.
The exchanges don't stop there. IFAO has also led 32 archaeological missions all over the country, without doubt the key to future discoveries.
That's it for this very special edition of Middle East Matters. From me and the team, thank you for watching.